Welcome to the Supply Chain Revolution, where we challenge the status quo and reimagine what's possible. I'm Sheri Hinish, also called the Supply Chain Queen, bringing you the insights, emerging trends, and inspiration to transform your business. Join me each episode as we explore where sustainability meets supply chain innovation at the intersection of people, planet, and technology. The future of supply chain starts here. Be sure to subscribe and follow us across social media to stay connected with the revolution. We have a countdown and it looks like we're recording. And hi, James.
Hello. Good to see you again. It's been a while.
It's great to see you. And we have a new season of the Supply Chain Revolution podcast. And before we get going, I would love to share with listeners a little bit about our background and also why we care about the topics that we're going to unpack together this season.
I was thinking about this actually before today. The last time you and I sat down and did this, I think was COP26.
Where we got kicked out? Yes, correct.
Where we got kicked out. So we were in the business conversation area, forum, tent, whatever it was, the COP26. And I think we sat down in one of those little igloos, inflatable igloos, and had a conversation about what we thought and what we were seeing. And I was reminiscing earlier and thinking, and I guess this is also a good plug for the previous episodes that we have done together before, because I guess my reflection was not much has changed. One of our criticisms on that day was the conversation is great, but the action is still missing. And I don't think that for very many folks has changed today, which is a very, very long way of getting to answer your question, which is about why are we doing this? Why are we thinking about this? I think it's, I'm James George. Hello. Finally graduated to co-host rather than just guest. Strategist, speaker, sometimes troublemaker of kind of business as usual. And it's good to be here back with you, Sheri, as a supply chain queen, but more importantly on the podcast, just to think about this incredible movement when we think about how we rebuild, regenerate the way supply chains operate. So I tend to work with companies, innovators, rule breakers, anyone who will pay me to think about how do we get past the greenwashing? How do we get past the tick box exercises? How do we actually start to build something better that is regenerative, resilient, and quite frankly, real? And I guess part of my role is helping those organizations turn big, bold ideas into bold actions. If you're going to be very romantic, it's kind of operationalizing ambition. In reality, it's getting shit done. Like how does this show up? How does this show up in your team, in your organization, in your supply chain, in your product? How do you actually move the dial?
I love that, James. And I was thinking about this question too when we were prepping for the relaunch and recording this first episode. And this is meant to be an introduction for folks who are tuning in, who haven't heard us before, maybe even they haven't listened to some of the previous podcasts we've recorded together. And what's changed since we first met? We both are parents of 3 children. And so when people ask me, who are you? What do you do? And why should I care? For me, as a mother of 3 children, I care about the future that they have on this planet. And that's probably turned into, it was a bit more muted, but it was always there. But now when I show up, it's really a legacy conversation. Like, what impact do you have? What future are you leaving your children? And that is very powerful because what I find is this topic, it's such an emotional topic for people. It's a personal topic. And that purpose, and that making it very personal and real for them, that can really be a bridge in complex transformation and also in a state what can feel like business as usual and a lack of progress. So I'm showing up. I love supply chain. I love sustainability, emerging innovation. And why am I doing this? Because I'm a really concerned mom of 3 kids that wants to leave the future a better place for them.
I mean, that is absolutely correct and absolutely true, right? But I guess there's another, if we're honest, there's another element here that there's an opportunity. And interestingly, we live in, what are we, end of April 2025, in a unpredictable political global economy that has changed very significantly in the previous near history. And mortgages still need paying. Kids still need shoes, but I mean, I'm not saying this is just about finding an opportunity, but to your point about what is the future, very often a lot of these conversations in business are what is the risk to our current business model and how do we translate that onto the balance sheet? And I guess that's a very clumsy way of saying this isn't just about doing the right thing. It's about building that resilience, which means you de-risk some of these things that we're facing, whether that is in commodity prices, supply chain resilience, availability of raw materials, attraction and retention of talent, all of these good things,
Love
right?
it.
We are also advocates of not just doing the right thing, but doing the right economic thing that is also the right thing.
Absolutely. So this season, we're going to get into 10 big ideas that will fundamentally transform the way you think about supply chains, but also supply chains can be a real conduit to change the world. This is a curated season, and we've already had a tremendous amount of positive, enthusiastic folks reach out and say they want to be a part of this. So we'll put a sort of like that there may be more than 10 episodes, but wanted to give everyone tuning in just a flavor of who we are, what we'll be talking about. And our first episode is going to be all around regenerative sourcing. So we're going all the way upstream, not with product design yet. That will be in episode 2.
No,
But really thinking about sourcing things in a different way. Any last final thoughts, James?
I guess this isn't about doing less bad. It's about how do we do a lot more good and do a lot more good by also generating opportunity within the business, thinking about these problems through an economic lens, which then have a great unintended consequence of environmental positive impact. So it is that idea of we redesign business for 2025 and beyond with all of the challenges that we face, but predominantly around the environmental and social challenges that show up every day out the window.
Absolutely. So everyone, stay tuned. You have 10 action-packed episodes coming your way, including some of the research, insights, how to get started, a lot of the things that I think would be helpful for practitioners, leaders tuning in this season. And yeah, we can't wait to share episode 1 with you. Coming up now.